going to get into the Charlamagne. This is glorious. But the point is this, and that is Charlamagne the God goes on this week with George Stephanopoulos. I think something like that is his name on ABC. Anyway, there's a sit-in host or a guest host who has Charlamagne the God on, and he interviews Charlamagne the God about, the upcoming election. And now Charlamagne is my age. It's 45, I think. So Charlamagne 45, 46. So Charlamagne's my age. And for some reason they're reaching out to him as the young voters. I'm not a young voter, for example. So you wouldn't be reaching out to me. You'd be reaching out to like my eldest daughter or something like that, who's in her 20s. But they're reaching out to Charlamagne the God to give us the pulse on the youth, give us the pulse on Black and people of color voting, give us the pulse, and it's not good. And that's one thing I do like about Charlamagne the God. Now, set aside his sort of Black bourgeoisie politics and, stomping for his class. That's what he's going to do. But when it comes to like the language that he uses, he doesn't hold any punches. And I do like that he uses very frank language to them. It shocks the system of the interview. And you'll see that a couple of times in his interview. Here is Charlamagne the God.
On This Week or on any other Sunday public affairs show. He's an important and influential voice in politics and culture with millions of followers and listeners, which is why the White House pays attention to what he has to say. He's known as Charlamagne the God, and I sat down with him for this exclusive interview. He's one of the most influential voices in morning radio.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, just hilarious. I don't know where the hell envy is at.
Also a television personality, podcast host, and New York Times bestselling author. His interviews with pop stars and politicians making viral moments like this.
So what's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Are you getting information right now?
Oh my God.
Leonard
Oh my
McKelvey,
God.
known to America as Charlamagne the God, has built his following on charisma, comedy, and blunt questions.
What was you thinking earlier this year when you got caught cheating in Vegas?
Hey, brother,
Mr.
listen.
Irresponsible.
In the last presidential election, the Breakfast Club became a must-stop for Democratic candidates. With an average of more than 6 million monthly listeners, candidates sought to appeal to its younger, diverse audience.
So I wanted to play just a little bit of this intro for those that may not know a little bit about even the show, The Breakfast Club, because they go through a bunch of viral moments and everything. I'm not interested in that. Now let's get into the actual interview here. So it starts in 15 seconds.
Charlamagne at his radio studio to discuss the state of American politics. I saw you describe this campaign that we're headed into as a race between the cowards, the crooks, and the couch.
Yeah, the crooks are the Republicans. The cowards are the Democrats because they don't fight hard enough on anything. And, the couch is voter apathy. And, that's who everybody is up against.
This dynamic that is allowed in main discourse when you're a person who's talking, you're critiquing both sides. This is the dynamic that is always given, is that the Republicans are the real crazy corrupt ones, then the Democrats are just not living up to standard. That's it. Not as if the Democrats are the one at the forefront of the military industrial complex. Look at China. Look at Ukraine. Look at who's in office that's committing a genocide right now. But the Democrats, in the way that he's speaking, the Democrats are just failures. They don't work hard enough. That's it. Let's continue. Let me actually rewind it 15 seconds and then I'll continue here.
The cowards are the Democrats because they don't fight hard enough on anything. And, the couch is voter apathy. And, that's who everybody is up against in 2024. And right now, it feels like the couch is going to win. I don't know who that benefits, by the couch winning, but it feels like the couch is going to win.
What's your sense? How engaged, how much is your audience paying attention to this race?
My audience, I feel like my audience is America. And when I'm out and about, just, you know, walking in the street, or people are calling into the radio station, like nobody is inspired, you know, by the upcoming election. Like, you know, I like nobody wants to see the rematch between, you know, Biden and Trump. And that's what makes me feel like the couch is going to win.
Why?
This is the first time in my life when people say things like, you know, this person is a threat to democracy.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely true. And it's mind-boggling to me that, you know, nobody is taking it as serious as I feel like they should. Like, we watched an attempted coup.
You see, here's the part where the deal has been made. In order for Charlamagne to be given this lane, and understand he's only been given this lane as to attract those people back to the Democratic Party. It's bait. So here is where the deal has been made. I will, as long as he's saying the same ultimate part, which is democracy could end January 6th, you can say all this other stuff. This is a dance that Charlamagne the God is playing.
The coup of this country happened on January 6th. And everybody's acting like it was just a bunch of people, you know, wilding at spring break, you know, down in Florida.
Yeah.
Like, we literally watched, you know, people try to overthrow the government because they didn't like the results of an election led by a former, you know, president. If that doesn't cause a sense of urgency in people, I don't know what will.
I mean, Biden does make that an issue over and over again. I mean, he constantly talks about that. Why is it not resonating?
Well, he's just an uninspiring candidate. Like, you know, there's nothing about, you know, Joe Biden that makes you want to listen to him. That's why he should be leaning on, you know.
So earlier when I said I like Charlamagne and God because he says a lot of things that it's not allowed to be said in this space, but because he is a culture reporter or a sort of cultural image, he's allowed to say that, you know, he's just spicy, you know, he's allowed to say a little more, but either way, it's amusing to me. So let's play some.
Well, he's just an uninspiring candidate. Like, you know, there's nothing about, you know, Joe Biden that makes you want to listen to him. That's why he should be leaning on, you know, his vice president, Kamala Harris, who's way more charismatic than him. He should be leaning on, you know, other surrogates, like, you know, Gavin Newsom or, you know, Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Like, he should be leaning on people who.
Kamala Harris. I'm not sure you want to send Kamala Harris in. You might want to check one of those word salad videos. There's plenty. I think, who has more word salads? Is it Kamala Harris or AOC? I think it's Kamala Harris, right? It's Kamala Harris. I think it's Kamala Harris. But let's get back.
Are more inspiring than him, who are more charismatic than him, and he should just be, I guess, if you want to call it, the brains of the operation behind the scenes. Like, that sounds crazy that we're saying that about a president of the United States of America, but he has no main character energy at all. None.
And what is that? Is that age? Is it the way he is? I mean,
no main character energy. That's hilarious.
I don't think it has anything to do with age. You know, I think it has just everything to do with him. Like, Donald Trump is what, 3 years younger than President Biden, but he just comes off a lot more youthful. He comes off, you know, like he has a lot more energy. And I always say this about them. Donald Trump seems more sincere about his lies than Joe Biden does about his truth.
Charlamagne endorsed Joe Biden in 2020, but says it was primarily because he had chosen Kamala Harris as his running mate. Has she met your expectations? You've been kind of tough on her.
Yeah, no, she hasn't. You know, but I don't think it's too late for her to pivot. You know, I think that right now, you know, historically, vice presidents have always kind of played their role. Their role is to just basically parrot the president, you know, speak, you know, on behalf of the president. But I think, man, we're in a new era, right? Like for new jack problems, we need new jack solutions. Mm-hmm. And she serves a unique purpose, right? Because she is the first woman of color in that position. So there's things that she could talk about. There's things that she could say that I feel like, you know, he can't. And I mean, man, we all remember her in those Senate hearings when she was pressing those people, when she was like really on.
when she was being a prosecutor, and they romanticizing Kamala Harris is just uninspiring.
Prosecuting these people, and I want to see her prosecute the case against Donald Trump in this country. I feel like she could go out there and really let the American people, know what's going on. I'd like to see her going on outlets like Fox News. I'd like to see her going in there and mixing it up.
Let me say this part. Charlamagne the God, I believe, is the executive producer of Native Land. Native Land is that new podcast that has Andrew Gillum, Tiffany Cross, and Angela. I forget her last name. Is it Rose? Angela Rose? Angela Rose on the podcast that Charlamagne the God is the executive producer for. She says that Kamala Harris is a good friend of hers all the time on the podcast. So that could speak to why Kamala Harris has all this glowing praise for Kamala Harris, even though he admits she has failed in his eyes, or she has not lived up to what he thought she was going to do.
Well, do you get blowback from the White House? Because you, even now in this conversation, you're very tough on Biden. So when you say something critical, do you hear from him?
Yeah, and I think that's the stupidest ever, because I think that I'm sorry,
but we can bleep that out.
Yeah, because I feel like you should be able to criticize whoever your elected official is, right? Yeah. And even if I do criticize them, I'm criticizing them because of what I see coming up in November. I see what we're facing. So what I'm saying to them is, where is the sense of urgency? You can't keep saying that there's a threat to democracy, and democracy as we know it is going to be gone, but not act like it. And the other problem is they've always done this with every single Republican candidate. Since I've been alive, whoever the Republican presidential candidate has been, they've demonized. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's John McCain. It doesn't matter if it was, Mitt Romney. It doesn't matter who it is. They will demonize the Republican candidate. And now that there's an actual legitimate threat right there in our faces, they're like the party who cried wolf.
They've used this tactic over and over. Democracy's ending. The world is going to end if you let that happen. And now, in their eyes, now that they say, wait, this is a real one. People are like, man, I've heard this story before. You said that about, what's his name? Bob Dole. You said that about Dan Quayle. You said that about George H.W. You said that, I say it that way because that's how they say it. You said that about George W. And then you said that about Trump. You said that about Reagan. You're crying wolf. Let's see what else he says here. And then we're going to get to the critique, because there's a lot of people. This interview stirred up a lot. A lot of articles were written and a lot of commentary has been made because of this interview, and people are not happy in the establishment of some of the critiques.
Nobody believes him.
Do you think Trump's going to win?
I don't know, but that's what's scary about it, right? Because when you look at everything he's done, right? The attempted coup of this country, put the Supreme Court judges on who got rid of Roe v. Wade, takes credit, says, I am the one who got rid of Roe v. Wade. Me, I did that. When you see all of that, it really shouldn't be close, right? But when you have a candidate like President Biden, who the polls are, saying has the lowest approval rating ever, and, he'd lose to a general election and a Trump, that's scary. That's where these conversations are coming from, where they're like, yo, you might need to step aside and put somebody else in there. Because, my fear is that the election is going to be close, right?
You've got a very powerful voice. You've got, incredibly influential show. You've got an audience that Democrats especially crave. And obviously Nikki Haley coming on, Republicans as well. Are you going to be using that voice to try to affect this election?
I'm going to tell people exactly what I'm seeing. I'm not going to endorse anybody, but I'm going.
He's not going to endorse anybody. This is the this is the non-endorsement endorsement. That's essentially what he's going to be doing without saying it, because you know what happened was he endorsed last time and he really got backlash in his audience. So he's saying, look, I'm not going to put my livelihood on the line and per se use the words endorse. But if you're saying democracy is going to end, if you're saying January 6th, if you're saying all these things, that's the same thing. That's the same thing. But let's get to some of the critique or blowback of this interview that Charlamagne the God did on this week with George S. on ABC. Let's look at a couple of these reactions. I think I have two. Do I have two or is it one? Let's see. Okay, it's two. Yeah, it is two. All right. So instead of, I watched the whole thing. I did save them piece by piece, but we don't need to watch each one because we've watched the whole thing in its entirety. So let's listen to some of their reaction. One, I think, is on ABC, and I think the other one's on CBS. Sorry, CNN, and the other on MSNBC. But let's watch this first one. Case Study QB curated this video. Let's watch.
So the Republicans, the cowards of the Democrats, because they don't fight hard enough on anything. And, you know, the couch is voter apathy. And, you know, that's who everybody is up against in 2024. And right now, it feels like the couch is going to win. I don't know who that benefits, you know, by the couch winning, but it feels like the couch is going to win.
Well, do you get blowback from the White House? Because you, even now in this conversation, you're very tough on Biden. So when you say something critical, do you hear from him?
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to this video, actually, because it's actually what's said in the critique I'm looking for is this video first. Then I'll play that second video. So my apologies. Let's play this one.
New today, radio personality Charlamagne the God echoing concerns about the Biden-Harris ticket. During an appearance this morning, he explained why he thinks the president is having trouble exciting voters.
Well, he's just an uninspiring candidate. Like, you know, there's nothing about, you know, Joe Biden that makes you want to listen to him. That's why he should be leaning on, you know, his vice president, Kamala Harris, who's way more charismatic than him. He has no main character energy at all.
Well, joining me now is Don Calloway, Democratic strategist and founder of the National Voter Protection Action Fund, Republican strategist Susan Del Percio, and former Florida Congressman David Jolly. Both are MSNBC political analysts, and you guys are my Sunday family. So let's go. What is your reaction to Charlamagne's take, David?
Well, then your other choice is Donald Trump. So you can complain all you want, but either get behind Donald Trump or...
That sounds like a great democracy right there. Well, the other side's Donald Trump, so what's up? But think about that. That's literally how the lesser of two evil works. And it's with the same disdain. Now, listen how he says it. He didn't say it just nonchalantly. It is said with such disdain for Charlamagne the God in this instance. And he's on the side of the lesser. So the team that is supposedly, and they know they're the lesser of evil in this game, not to us, but to them, they know they are the lesser. That's how they look at it. Oh, you got to complain about me? Well, the person is Donald Trump. There you go. Think about a team that has such disdain for you that they describe it this way. I don't understand how you can listen to that and then turn around and vote for this team. But let's listen. I'm going to rewind it back a little bit so he can give his little jab again. And then we'll listen to the rest.
So let's go. What is your reaction to Charlamagne's take, David?
Well, then your other choice is Donald Trump. So you can complain all you want, but either get behind Donald Trump or Joe Biden and call it like you see it. That's it.
Okay. So look, we all heard Charlamagne praise Vice President Harris, but he also took a moment to point out where he thinks that she could improve. We've got that. So let's play it.
Has she met your expectations? I mean, you've been kind of tough on her.
Yeah, no, she hasn't, you know, but I don't think it's too late for her to pivot because she is the first woman of color in that position. So there's things that she could talk about. There's things that she could say that I feel like, you know, he can't. I feel like she could go out there and really let the American people, you know what's going on.
So, Dawn, you've been a vocal supporter of the vice president. Do you agree with Charlamagne's assessment?
Yeah, we all know that Kamala Harris has got to be the star of this campaign, and frankly, if not the face of this campaign. And I like Charlamagne a lot, but I'm really concerned that he's being positioned as some type of anti-Democrat. You don't see him supporting Trump, but you see him with this consistent low drumbeat that's getting louder and louder with
the anti-Democrat. That's how he describes it. It's not like you're for Trump, but you're a personality coming out critiquing the Democratic Party during an election. So then how does a person who believes what Charlamagne the God says he believes, how does a person then maneuvers? When they believe the Santa Claus story of democracy ending if Trump gets in office, they believe that. So if Charlamagne the God believes that, and he thinks Joe Biden is not living up to it, if a person really believes what y'all been selling, wouldn't they have that reaction when they see him? That guy, Joe Biden, can barely walk, put a foot in front of the other. It looks like he's literally about to fall. Every time you see him walking, it looks like you're just waiting for him to fall, because he walks so timidly, like he's about to fall, like he's tippy-toeing almost. But let's continue. Notice how the Negro is the most upset here. Watch.
As some type of anti-Democrat. You don't see him supporting Trump, but you see him with this consistent low drumbeat that's getting louder and louder with each week of Biden-Harris criticisms. What you don't see is him coming out talking about these substantive legislative achievements. And one could argue, as so many of my friends do very well, that Biden has been the most substantively achieving president since John F. Kennedy in terms
substant achieving. These professional managerial types, they just make up shit, man. And don't let them tell you that Joe Biden has made all these accomplishments. Don't let them say what they say is an accomplishment is an accomplishment. It is just, it's mind-blowing, but that's a different topic. Let's stay on topic here. Let's finish the video.
In terms of civil rights, in terms of equality, in terms of bodily autonomy, economic stability, and so many other things. And you don't see Charlamagne, who has such a powerful and important voice in this culture that he and I care about so much. You don't see him saying those things. You do see him consistently being trotted out, whether he's doing it himself or with other people. He's consistently being elevated as an anti-democratic and anti-Biden voice. And that makes me very concerned, because while he's a brilliant prognosticator, he is not a political expert, and he's not best positioned to talk to our people, particularly Black men, in this moment where democracy is on the line.
Let me translate. When he says he's not best positioned, he doesn't have the correct propaganda tools and talking points to fool the Black community. He's just going out here flailing with critiques. That's what the Negro servant said there. Let's continue.
Well, let me say, for the purposes of our discussion, Dawn, we did play these sound bites so that it would elicit our discussion. But in this interview, he also went after Donald Trump, talked about how scary he is. So, Dawn, what do you say to that? I mean, I understand you're being upset or want to take issue, at least, with how he's categorizing things, but he's doing the other side of the coin, too.
Yeah, but we know that water is wet and the sky is blue. We have an advocate as powerful as Charlamagne. His job is not to tell us that Donald Trump is bad, because we know that. However, I would suggest that the greater danger is for him to present a certain apathy about Joe Biden, when the reality of the matter is that the choice, as David said, is between Biden or Trump. Is between.
Basically, don't say anything bad about the dementia patient. What else does this? How else do you take this? How else do you take that? Because we in this community, in this RBN community, what Charlamagne the God said is would barely make a tweet. It's like, yeah, it's basic stuff about Joe Biden, but that basic information that this Negro servant knows the Democratic constituency is starved for this position. They're starved. They're prevented, I should say, from hearing this critique, even if it's accurate. And they want to continue starving them. That's the strategy. That's the media strategy, I should say, at least.